Hello, this is Scarlet and Rage podcast. I am Michael, the voice of reason, and this is my co-host Jay, the voice of rage. Thank you guys for taking time to watch, whether you're watching live now or whether you are watching after the fact once it's posted. Nevertheless, I appreciate you guys viewing. Thank you, all of you who have liked and subscribed here in recent weeks. We appreciate you helping us get some momentum going again. If you would go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe and hit the bell so you know every time we do a video. We do the community post to let you know roughly when the live stream is going to be coming. Sometimes we're a little bit late due to various things, but it's going to be somewhere along that line. I think Jay put out 9:45 tonight. But anyhow, we got plenty to talk about. Big Buckeye game. We had a non-conference Michigan basketball game where the Big Ten was not represented the way that we would have liked. So we'll discuss that for a few minutes, and then we'll get right into the Buckeyes and how they looked against Purdue. I know it's a game that Jay was pumped for. It's a game that he was hanging on the edge of his seat for to see how the Buckeyes would perform against the mighty Boilermakers. And we're going to get into all of that. And can this team be stopped? Can anybody stop this team? Alabama certainly looked a little bit scary the other night. So we're going to get into all of that good stuff. But Jay, what's going on? How was your weekend?
Weekend was pretty good, man. Had a few too many tonight after dinner, so I'm like feeling fucking out of it. But it's okay, man. I'm good. But I gotta tell you, Michael, last night a crazy thing happened in my house.
Okay, what's that?
So I have a walk-in basement in my basement, and it was a nice, cool night out, so I left the door open. My cat, she's not an outdoor cat, but she likes to kind of, walk around the outside and this, that, and the other. Well, she has like this mortal enemy back in the day. There's like this black cat from back in the day. I haven't seen it for months.
Yeah.
Apparently it's a stray. I don't believe it's a feral cat or anything. Well, my cat has like fought that cat in the past and chased it off. I haven't seen it since in at least like 3 or 4 months. Well, last night I'm asleep on the couch and I hear just a screeching roar. And I hear something like dart past me, like, past the couch, and I'm asleep. My wife is asleep on the other couch. We were watching football. It was like 1 a.m. and I wake up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, do I need to go get my gun? And I'm thinking like some kind of like raccoon or some kind of, I don't know, some kind of animal, some kind of vicious animal just like broke in. Coyote, maybe. It was like there was the black cat. Like my cat had chased that cat inside and cornered it near our bathroom. So like my wife had to grab our cat and I had to like shoot. We then had to shoo that cat out. So it was pretty crazy, man. It was actually like the most random thing.
Did it cross your path? Did the black cat cross your path?
I guess. Yeah, it did. Actually, it did.
Oh, well, if you have any bad luck, you're going to have to let us know.
Yeah, man, I'm not really I'm like kind of superstitious in a way, but not superstitious like that. So, yeah, that was an interesting thing. So, awesome. Michael, there's one thing before we get into Ohio State. I happened to watch Michigan basketball today, and I know this isn't the Michigan episode or the Big Ten episode, but it's like fresh in my mind, and I was watching them play, and man, oh man, they just, under no circumstance whatsoever, they played Wake Forest in a quote-unquote neutral site game. That wasn't a neutral site game. It was played in Greensboro, which is like 30 minutes away from Wake Forest. So, I mean, it was essentially a Wake Forest home game. But, man, oh, man, terrible loss by Michigan today. Michigan fans, if you're listening to this, terrible loss by you guys today. Under no circumstances should Wake Forest have better players than you. But that's exactly what happened today. And I'll tell you, those 2 transfers you got, Danny Wolf from, I believe, Yale and Vlad Golden from FAU, look virtually unplayable and are just unathletic white guys. There's just, there's nothing else to be said. Roddy Gale, who I was like hyping up last time, he didn't have a very good game, too many turnovers and stuff. Like, you guys had some shooting guards who could hit some threes, but Wake Forest was just so much more consistent with their inside game. And We're able to create easier shots and a little bit more athletic team. And I'm like, fuck, man. Where does Michigan basketball fall in to have lesser players in Wake Forest? Like, fuck. That's really bad. That's a bad loss for the Big Ten, by the way. That is a bad loss for the Big Ten in basketball.
That is a bad loss. Early in the season, maybe the Big Ten can recover, but the Big Ten, we'll get into that once basketball season really gets here and football season winds down. But good grief, it's time for the Big Ten to have a team get over the hump again in basketball. I mean, it has been.
You realize that Big Ten basketball hasn't had a national champion since the year 2000?
Yes, I do realize.
It's like
that.
I would take a Big Ten national championship in basketball over football, bar none. Bar none. I mean, we just won last year in football. I would take an Ohio State basketball national championship over football. And that's being really candid, Michael. I'm not playing around when I say that. I would take basketball all day long.
I would definitely take football. And
that's fine. You're more of a football guy. I'm even.
And this is the year. This is the year that they are going to put another one on the board, Jay. You know that
that is how you lead into the optimistic side, Michael.
You know that is my position, and that's what I think going forward. I think that we're the favorite. I think Oregon is the favorite, and I think we're right there with them. And we certainly get a chance to say something about that here in a few
I think
weeks,
another
hopefully.
team has entered into that conversation, Michael.
Alabama, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep. No, I agree. And I've said all along that there's a few teams that scare me, and Alabama has been one of them. And that's exactly why they scare me, because they're super talented, they're young, and they're bound to get better. I do believe Kalen DeBoer is a good coach. He's been a good coach everywhere he's been. I don't think he just forgot that because he went to Alabama, and seems like it's starting to come together. Hopefully. It was a temporary thing. It was a one-off, and they'll kind of go back to struggling the way that they have. But certainly that is the fear with a team like Alabama, is that it can come together like that on a given night because they're just so talented. But what about the Buckeyes? What did you see this weekend against the mighty Boilermakers?
Well, where do I start, Michael?
Are you pleased? Just tell us this. Are you pleased with this win? Are you not pleased with this win?
Well, I'm raged, man. I'm never pleased.
Well, relatively speaking, are you mildly pleased with this win, or are you disgusted with this win for some reason?
I mean, as time has gone on, I'm not disgusted. For the first half, I was. The first half, I was utterly disgusted. Utterly disgusted by that performance. But as you know, they ended up shutting Purdue out. I don't know how much you really take with that. I mean, it's just, whatever. But I would give the game a C-. On the grand scale of things, it was a C- performance. And it was just, I don't know. I guess they came off, like, you want to call it a big win against Penn State. I wouldn't say that, but I will say this: for the first half, especially in the first half, that was absolutely embarrassing. Notre Dame was up on Purdue on the road, not at home, on the road on Purdue, 42-0. For a lot of that game, Ohio State couldn't run the ball. They couldn't stop the run. A lot of these players on our roster look overrated and slow. Team speed overall just doesn't look great. I mean, we have speed in spots, but from a collective unit, it's not good. One thing that was like a major red flag, and it really didn't make any sense. I saw Jim Knowles was trying to run more. Actually, it looks like he was trying to run more of his gimmicky defense now, but it's too late. It's too late in the season to run a completely different defense and expect to be good at it. That's something that needs to be drilled in the off season. The players need to know exactly where they're supposed to be. They're not just supposed to be floating around out there trying to figure it out. Like that it just didn't make any sense to me, man. It didn't make any sense. Jim Knowles apparently had 3 down linemen to start, and Edric Houston was playing a lot inside. Like, how does that make any fucking sense? Edric Houston's 280 pounds. He was recruited to be like a strong side defensive end, but they stick him inside, and now they expect him to be able to stop the run as a true freshman. It's like they're trying to run like versions of the 3-4, but if you're going to run a 3-4 effectively, you need 2 things, Michael. You need a dominant one technique, a dominant one technique in the way that they take up 2 defender or 2 blockers, and then you need explosive, athletic, long outside linebacker edge rushers, and they don't have that either. So this whole experiment with they don't have the personnel to run that defense.
Yeah, I don't like really experimenting with the 4-3 or with the 3-4 at this point. I don't think that they've recruited for that kind of personnel. That being said, and I know it's Purdue, and Purdue's not a good football team, but they did hold Purdue to 206 yards, which when you hold anybody to 206 yards, that's a pretty dominant defensive performance. Now, is that a performance that lets me know, okay, we're ready to beat Oregon. We're ready to shut down Milroe from Alabama? No, it doesn't tell me that, but they did hold him to 206 yards. So that was a good thing. The offense was slow to start with, but they got it going. Trey ran the ball very well, obviously. So, I mean, there's definitely, in my opinion, a lot of positives we can take. I'm not sure what Quinshawn was, I'm not sure what exactly happened there. He certainly didn't have a strong game. Howard was efficient. 21-26 for 260 yards. So, I mean, it's hard to be a lot better than that. Obviously, you could have thrown for 360 yards or something, but 21 for 26 is pretty strong. So, I liked what I saw. You just got to take care of business these 2 weeks. Then you get to see Indiana, who did squeak out a win against Michigan. By the way, Jay, Penn State had a pretty dominating win against Washington. Washington, not like a top 20 team or anything, but they're not terrible. So that does help the Buckeyes, at least, whether you feel that was a impressive win or not. It is helpful to the Buckeyes for them to beat them 35-6 instead of 21-14 or something. So yeah, I think a lot of positives from the weekend. The one negative I would take from the weekend is that Alabama looks like they're coming together. That's literally the only major negative that I'm taking from the weekend, Jay.
Well, off topic, man. Ohio State's only chance to ever beating a team like Alabama, because Alabama, I don't believe they're, they could make the SEC championship game. And I think there's avenues for them to do that and get a bye. And then it's so long national championship. It's your best chance of beating Alabama is if they play a game, one more game than Ohio State does.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be a little bit more worn down. I mean, they're going to blow out whoever they probably play in the first round, but just them having to go on the field and do that is a major advantage. But I guess, let's start with the offense, because it was the offense, Michael, that I had a lot of problems with in this game. Just a lot of problems. So we'll start there, and we'll start with your boy, Will Howard, your hero, the Superman to you. Man, just this guy.
Well, I don't know how he became my hero.
I don't know. You talk to him and you embellish him, really. I mean, you really speak in superlatives about him. I don't know. You seem to like him a lot more than I do.
I like Howard. I don't love Howard.
Yeah, I don't know if I like. I don't really know where to start with this guy. This is what I'm going to say to start off. I actually do feel a little bad for him. The offense really wasn't supposed to be like this. But after Josh Simmons went down, the team was forced to the team has been forced to throw more since the running game is too inconsistent. And he's just not built to be the guy to run, to basically be the lead engine for an offense. He's supposed to just be kind of there, a game manager type thing. But, he's having to they should, in my opinion, they should be throwing the ball 70% of the time. They shouldn't be balanced by any means. Their running game, is very inconsistent. I guess I'll get to that in a little bit. But, in the game, another underthrow by Howard to Carnell Tate, and then the one pass on the sideline to Travion Henderson. That should have been those both should have been touchdowns. Travion had to slow down a little bit. I know it was completed, but he kind of threw it more towards the sideline. So just, underthrows. He just can't make those throws, man. I was the first person on that. I saw it against Western Michigan, and I was like, oh boy, that one throw to Jeremiah Smith should have been in stride touchdown. Right when It's like you either can throw that or you can't. And,
Mm-hmm.
he had time to set against Western Michigan and launch that thing, and he still underthrew him. And he has like too much air on it. I don't know if it's his mechanics or throwing motion, but he just can't make the throws. And it really does kill this offense and what they, and limits what they can do. And I'm not going to lie, Michael, he may have the weakest arm of all quarterbacks Ohio State has had in the 21st century, and that includes Joe Bosserman.
I think he's hesitant to make that throw a lot. And I think that the one good deep throw he has made, he just stepped up and ripped it. And I think that that's what quarterbacks have to do. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to
What
start.
deep throw was that?
The one that Smith missed.
Yeah, you know what? He did. It was like literally
Mhm.
1 out of 15 times. You're right.
Mhm.
He did hit that one, and Smith
Yeah.
missed it against
Yeah.
Penn State.
Yeah. And I mean, he just stepped up and ripped it. And you have to have the confidence to do that. If you're going to hit, those kind of throws, you just got to let it fly. And it doesn't seem he does. Now, I'm not necessarily optimistic that he's going to start having that confidence at this point in the season as a fifth-year senior. I don't think he probably will. I think that's just a part of the offense that is not going to be exactly optimal. And also, the offense is not totally optimal with the run game because of the offensive line. So could we say that if Ohio State is not able to get it done this year, that Justin Fry could have a big role in that, not just for his poor recruiting, but for the fact that I saw reported, now I can't verify 100% that it's true, but that Carter, can't think of his first name off the top of my head, Carter, he's an Ohio kid, lineman at Indiana, their second best lineman. And some people think he's, potentially will be on one of the Big Ten teams at the end of the year, second Big Ten, all Big Ten second team or something. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. However, it was said that he wanted to come to Ohio State this year. He wanted to transfer, and Justin Fry essentially told him, no, thanks. How can you do that, Jay? With the offensive line situation being what it is, how could you pass up another Big Ten team's second best O lineman who's an Ohio kid and wants to come home, and you just tell him no thanks?
Do we know he wanted to go to Ohio State though? I mean, I didn't follow that too closely.
It was
know
It was reported on Bucknuts that he did. So
well, blame Ryan Day for that. Ryan Day's the head coach. If Ryan Day wants him, he should have got him. I mean, Justin Fry is just fucking stupid. I mean, like he's honestly like some dude. Like you can't get mad at people with like Down syndrome. It's like they're like you can just kind of feel so bad for them. You realize they just can't do it, and you just got to find something else for them to do. That's kind of where Justin Fry is. So it's like he's just kind of like. It's Ryan Day. Ryan Day is the problem there. So, Ryan Day should have been on that. Ryan Day should have seen the offensive line lack of depth and gone to go get this guy. But again, it's Ryan Day's team. He's going to sink or swim with this roster, and we'll see what ends up happening in the end.
Well, I don't get it because we all knew it. It's not like it was a secret that offensive line
we knew it,
very good.
But again, I've said Ryan Day is not very smart, man. I've said that continually. I don't think he's a very smart person.
Yeah. Well, what did you think about Chip's game plan? I mean, seemed like he wasn't trying to do anything too complicated, and that's fine. It's Purdue; you shouldn't have to. But I heard a few rumbles about his game plan that some people weren't thrilled about.
All right. Well, if we want to get into the game plan real quick, I'll dive into that. But then I need to go back to Howard because I'm not done.
Well, go ahead and go back to Howard. Forget the game plan for now. We'll get to that in a minute. Finish on Howard.
Okay, back to Howard. For instance, people keep trying to clamor for his mobility and stuff. I personally don't care for a quarterback's mobility all that much. I care about if they can make all of the throws or not. I've said before the scheme last year was awful. Didn't help Kyle McCord at all, but Kyle McCord could, for the most part, make all of the throws. Howard, while he's not a stiff, I wouldn't call him a good athlete by any means either. For a Division I college level quarterback, I wouldn't call him a good athlete. He slips and falls down too much. The first touchdown drive of the game, I think it was like on third down. Like he should have had a touchdown there, and he like slipped and fell towards the goal line, and he was short. He slipped another time, I believe, on like a third down. It should have been like a first down. And he slipped and fell down there. So that was twice yesterday, Michael, that Will Howard just slipped and fell down. He honestly just looks straight unbalanced a lot of times when he runs. He's just like a klutz. I don't know what else to say. He's just a klutz out there. Like, yeah, he's got some straight line speed where he can actually like get going and not fall down. But we've seen like his ball skills aren't great either. He fumbled last week against Penn State. Probably don't want him running too much. Like, has he had like one run all season past 10 yards? Like, I don't know that he has.
I don't know. I can't say 100%. I think he may have had one or two past 10 yards, but certainly he's not a big threat. Salty Ball said, "I'll take him over McCord or Brown." My God, it'd be embarrassing. Yeah, I agree with that. I would definitely take him over both of those two. Brown is terrible. I don't know why he sees the field anymore. I'm not sure why we wasted any snaps on him against Purdue. Just let Julian Sayin play. But yeah, I would definitely take him over those two. I don't think he's amazing. I think he's got the will to run. I think he's a gritty guy. I'm not going to underestimate the grit. I know it was a different era, a different time, but we did win a national championship against what was considered to be one of the greatest college teams in history, with a gritty, not super talented quarterback in Craig Krenzel. I'm not saying that that's going to repeat itself. It's not apples for apples. That was a totally different college football than it is today. However, it's not like this offense is quite as limited as that offense was, running a power eye and, just kind of coming straight at you. And Tressel did a great job by, kind of featuring Krenzel in that by spreading that Miami defense out. But, I'm not going to underestimate the grit. I think that's worth something. I think sometimes that can be the difference, but we'll see.
I mean, I guess mentally, yeah, he's there, but I got to know that you can physically do it too. Back to like his mobility stuff. Actually, like Salty Balls. Yeah, I would definitely, he's definitely the best quarterback on the roster, that they have. But that's the problem. Like, if he's the best quarterback on Ohio State's roster and nobody can elevate above him, like, that's just poor recruiting and poor management by Ryan Day. Like, you should have a little better than that. Like, and here's the thing, Michael, with the running game struggling right now, hot take, but I really do believe right now with the loss of Josh Simmons, I think Kyle McCord would be better for this team than Will Howard.
Yeah, I mean, my big reservation with McCord is he just can't manage a pocket. And I haven't watched him in Syracuse this year to see if that's gotten better. But I mean, that just kills the offense from.
No, it does. It does. Yeah. But that's why you got to put pressure on the offensive line to fucking pass protect, man. Again, put in extra blockers there. But again, McCord was done such a disservice by Ryan Day last year with just, put in bad spots. When they did throw, it was like, super predictable and teams could tee off on him. Like, they should have kept teams off balance and utilized his lack of mobility more, similar to like how Tom Brady's offense did, man. Tom Brady would throw when you were least expecting it, and it just kept you off balance. And, he was just so calculated and cool. Like, he's the greatest ever. So this whole like mobility thing is over. It's bullshit, because the greatest quarterback of all time wasn't mobile at all.
Yeah, I agree. What he was is he was a master of the pocket. If you watched even all the little drills he did, everything he'd do these bands where he's just navigating the pocket. And, he could step up into it. He could sidestep it. He could, sidestep pressure. And so he was very good at that. But as far as running, no, he obviously was not a good runner. I think he barely rushed for over 1,000 yards in 22 seasons or however long he played.
Oh, God. I mean, 1,000, more like 500. I don't think he went above.
Yeah, he got 1,000. I remember when he got his 1,000th yard rushing, but again, it was
Tom Brady did. Wow. Yeah, okay.
But it was like his 20th season, Jay. So I mean, you're talking about what? 100, not even 100 yards. I don't know. It's not very much. I'm not doing the division right now, but yeah, he was not much of a rusher.
No, not at all. Not at all. But he is the greatest of all time.
Yep.
Will Howard, man, just not very impressive. He's very meh.
Just 1,123, Jay. That's how many career rushing yards Tom had. 1.6 yards a carry.
Shows how much I know. Yeah, I will say it seems like I've followed the NFL less after Tom Brady retired. The NFL is just so fucking boring. Yeah, man. So, yeah, Will Howard is a problem. This offense, Michael, let's get into this game a little bit. This offense is a problem. It is. It's a problem. Again, after the loss of Josh Simmons, they just have no identity. I don't know what their identity is on offense. I don't. The running game is more miss than hit, and the passing game is pretty clunky with little downfield threat. This offense doesn't have the quick strike, explosive passing game. The deep throw just isn't in their arsenal, and they keep trying these trash screen routes that only work against Western Michigan and Marshall. They fucking got their dick wet against these teams, and they think they can do it against everyone, but it's just not the case. They've tried it against these teams that are a little better, and it just doesn't fucking work. If you want to run those screens, teams have to be a little afraid of the downfield throw, and teams are not afraid of the downfield throw at all, so they sit on it. So in all honesty, back to the scheme, the offensive scheme, what is their identity? They try and run but fail. The passing offense I think is good, but they can't hit the deep ball, so it's almost like they shy away from it and resort to screen and underneath routes. Purdue yesterday was playing everything 15 yards and in because Ohio State hasn't shown they can consistently make the deep throws. Yeah, and really, Michael, this offense is actually pretty easy to defend as long as you stay disciplined. That's crazy to say, but I really don't think this offense is all that hard to scheme for. I don't. If I were a DC looking at this offense, I'm like, they can't throw the deep ball and everything is 15 yards and in. We should feast on these fucking guys. And they can't fucking pass protect very well. We should feast on these guys.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's weaknesses there for sure. And I'm not denying that. I just think that if they don't turn the ball over, if they play clean, they can beat anybody in the country, including Alabama, including Oregon. I'm not going to say I'm going to favor them over Oregon right now, but I am going to say that I think they're looking good enough, Jay. I think they're looking good enough. I think they're right there. If you look at the threats across the country, there's not that many. I mean, there's Texas, Alabama, Oregon, and outside of that, I'm not worried. And how many of those will they end up playing on their road to try to get to the national championship? I'm not sure. They're definitely going to play Oregon at least once. Probably very good chance they could play Alabama if they keep going. But I honestly think we have as good a shot as anybody. Georgia continues to look very normal. Shane Cupp said Will Howard has the same amount of TD and INTs as Dylan
Will
Gabriel.
Howard also hasn't thrown for many yards. Dylan Gabriel has thrown for like 600 more yards. Kyle McCord has literally damn near thrown for 1,000 more yards. And it's like, yeah, Will Howard has a high QBR because they protect him so much and they throw all these like high percentage throws. And again, you have to remember something. Will Howard has Jeremiah Smith. Will Howard has Carnell Tate. Will Howard has Emeka Ibuka. What other quarterback in the country has that wide receiver trio?
Yeah, I mean, Gabriel did have a good one. I don't think it was better than Ohio State's, but it certainly was a good one. So Gabriel's got 28-48. Yeah, so he is.
Gabriel has a better QBR. Again, it's better, like slightly better, but Gabriel can run better than Howard. Gabriel can run better than Howard. He actually can throw the deep ball too. There is no comparison between Howard and Gabriel. Gabriel is the only player with similar receivers, and Gabriel is just much better than Howard. Gabriel is much better than Will Howard. I mean, Will Howard actually had a good game against Oregon, but Gabriel runs better, and Gabriel can throw the deep ball. Will Howard cannot throw the deep ball. So there's not much of a comparison there. Will Howard just is limited, and Gabriel is less limited.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Gabriel has the edge on that. But I think Howard, he's going to end up regular season somewhere between 2,700 and 3,000 yards, and somewhere probably between 28 and 32 touchdowns during the regular season. So he's definitely done a pretty good job. He's not a huge difference maker quarterback, and he's just not going to be. The overall talent of the team is going to have to carry the team. They don't have any one player that is necessarily going to be able to step up and take over a game. And I think that's what they're trying to accomplish offensively. I think that's what Chip's trying to do. I think he knows that he's got to get the ball in these receivers' hands. He's got to get the ball in these running backs' hands. He can't just, leave it to Howard to sit back in the pocket and pick defenses apart and throw the ball over the top. Obviously, everything gets easier if you can do that. And he can't do that. But I think he can do enough, Jay. I think he can do enough.
Well, I mean, if people that are coming into the show a little late, I made a good point about 10, 15 minutes ago. In the fact that I feel a little bad for Will Howard. I don't hate Will Howard by any means, but the problem is he's just not good enough to do what he needs to do now. Mm-hmm. The loss of Josh Simmons has essentially killed the running game. It has forced Ohio State to become a pass-first offense, and Will Howard was coming into an offense that was going to be more ground and pound, more spread option stuff. Well, that's gone now. That's gone now that your best offensive lineman is gone. Like Ohio State's bread and butter was running gap scheme to the left with, Donovan Jackson and Josh Simmons. Now, they don't have that anymore. They don't have that option anymore to be able to just go to a bread and butter like that. So what is their bread and butter now? Their bread and butter is really getting the ball to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, like players like that. And Will Howard is looked to be like a game. I don't know what the word is. Like if there's a game manager, what's the next word? I guess all-star. Like he has to be an all-star now. He's forced to be in like an all-star role, like a game winner, not a game manager. Like they expect him to like be CJ Stroud now, and he's just not that guy. And it's unfortunate, but that goes back to roster management by Ryan Day. You should have had a solid 2 deep of offensive tackles. Like that goes into, and again, this was lost in the offseason, wasn't lost now. It's like you have to look at every single person on your team and be like, okay, if this guy goes down, do we have somebody that can come in and be damn near just as good? If the answer is no, then you better fucking go get somebody that can be that good. And if you can't get them, then that's a fucking problem, man. That's just a common sense problem that was just missed by Ryan Day and the staff. But that's not surprising to me. Yeah, you'd rather take Todd Beckman than Kyle McCord. That's actually a real good question because I know that was actually a tongue-in-cheek comment, but I've actually thought Todd Beckman was a pretty solid quarterback. The problem with Todd Beckman was in 2008, Chris Wells got hurt, and like the season was lost after they got blown out by USC, and the team needed a running game. So once Chris Wells went down, which was, like one of the best running backs in Ohio State history, probably the second most talented running back, actually second or third most talented running back in Ohio State history. Once he went down, Ohio State needed a running game, and Terrell Pryor was that answer. So Todd Beckman went out valiant in that Fiesta Bowl against Texas. Do you remember that 2009 Fiesta Bowl, Michael?
Yes, I do. I do remember that.
He played great in that game. Mm-hmm. He played great in that game and just looked really good. He came in the Michigan game in 2008 and did fine. Like Todd Beckman was actually I thought Todd Beckman was a solid quarterback. That was back in the years where Ohio State's receiving corps was like Brian Hartline and Brian Robisky and Ray Small and guys that just weren't true difference makers. Like, yeah, Brian Robisky and like playing in the NFL a little bit. Hartline somehow made it big in the NFL. I don't know how. He wasn't all that fast, but he made it happen. And then it's just like, they didn't have like explosive individual playmakers at the wide receiver position. And but Todd Beckman, I thought, was actually a really solid Ohio State quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't terrible. But I definitely think Howard's solid. Like, you think Howard's solid, don't you? Before you answer that, Salty Balls said, show me on this doll where Howard touched you. I think that's to you, Rage. I
did see that. I started laughing. I thought that was fun. I didn't really know. Like, yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah. So, I think he's solid. You don't think Howard's solid, or you're just saying that solid's not good enough?
I would say he's just above game manager, and that's not good enough.
Okay.
Because weirdly enough, Howard, like 20 yards and in is like elite. But the problem is teams are going to start sitting on that more. You can't tell me in like a couple weeks Michigan is just not going to just be sitting on everything underneath because they have the talent to do it. Will Johnson, you mark my words, I think he's going to come back for the Ohio State game. And we saw how good Michigan's defense was against Indiana. They're very good defense.
Yeah, they definitely are a good defense. And the thing is, again, we knew that we're not going to have any big answers against Purdue and against Northwestern. So I feel like they did what they needed to do against Purdue. Maybe not too much more than that, but they did what they needed to do against Purdue. The only thing that gave me a little pause about Purdue is 433 yards total offense. Now, I know that they have changed the way that college football is played, and there's been plays starting last year that have been taken out of the game essentially due to the way they kind of restructured the time. So you're losing 10, 12, 15 plays a game. I get that, but I feel like definitely some really good offensive teams are going to easily put up 500 yards against Purdue. That's nitpicking a little bit, but other than that, I was pretty happy with what they did.
That's great, Michael. I'm glad that you're happy because you're the voice of reason, where I'm the voice of rage. So, you think Will Howard is better than Carson Beck? For the longest time I thought Carson Beck was better, and people think I was sucking Carson Beck's dick off because I thought he was better than Will Howard. But I mean, Carson Beck has an NFL future. Will Howard doesn't have an NFL future. So Carson Beck can improve his decision making and stuff. Will Howard can't improve his arm. He is what he is. He's just never going to play in the NFL.
Yeah, Carson Beck does have an NFL arm. He doesn't seemingly have good decision making this year. And that's something that Ohio State can't have. They can't have turnovers from Will Howard. If Will Howard is going to be a guy who is what he is, a good, pretty good quarterback, but not going to just put the team on his shoulder and win a game. You can't have that guy making turnovers. You can't have that guy having fumbles in big games. You can't have that guy doing goofy stuff in big games. So that's my biggest concern with Howard, really, is that he's got this this kind of duality about him, that he comes across as a really experienced veteran quarterback and as a rookie that's just out there playing for his first year at the same time. He'll come out and look very experienced, 98% of the game. And then it's there's inevitably these little goofs that's what is he doing? And it just seems that they're not going away. It seems like that's kind of, game in and game out now. Now, I don't remember, did he have any of those against Purdue, Jay? I did not get to see the whole game. I was taking my daughter to see a college, and so I didn't see all of it. But did he have any of those goofs against Purdue?
What goofs exactly? Just
slipping and falling down.
I said that.
Fumbling
he slipped and fell down twice.
What about the turf? I mean, that brings up a question about that.
I didn't see anybody else slipping and falling. It's always an excuse for Ohio State. I didn't see Purdue's players slipping and falling down. The only player I saw slipped and fall was Howard. And no, it wasn't once. It was twice. He slipped and fell actually on our first touchdown drive of the game because I think it was 3rd and goal on the first drive. He was doing some kind of power, QB power play. Mm-hmm. And he slipped and fell. He slipped and fell and tried to reach it towards the one, and he just couldn't get there. And then they scored eventually from 4th and goal. I don't remember. I think it was QB sneak. And then there was a second time that he slipped and fell where I think he tried to roll back to his right, and he had room to run for a first down and probably pick up 10 yards, and he slipped and fell down. And it's just, I don't think the guy's all that good of an athlete. I think he's very awkward. If he can actually get going, he's fine to run. But that first 3 yards is a problem for him because he just lacks coordination.
And that's why he doesn't get a lot of yards a lot of the time. I would venture to say him and Patrick Mahomes are about the same speed. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was a 4.8 540. That's not blazing speed. I think Will Howard's probably a 4.8 540, but he's not as he doesn't have the foot speed, the quickness with the feet, and he doesn't have the elusiveness to those first few steps. I think guys like Mahomes, they get to their top speed much quicker than guys like Howard.
Mahomes is a really good basketball player, and I think he was able to just get coordinated from playing basketball. I don't know anything about Will Howard's like other sports and everything, but I don't know. He's just uncoordinated. Salty Balls said they think this stuff is beat down from the band practicing so much. I don't think that's really an excuse. I mean, it's fake grass. I mean, it is fake grass. And the band, from what I understand, they practice outside. Yeah, they practice in the stadium like once a week, but that's not enough to make the grass, like the fake grass, slippery or pat it down or whatever. But
well, according to I believe it's Buckeye Scoop.
Man, dude, I would not listen to them.
I
That's
know
the last place I would be listening to for information.
I know your thoughts. I'm just telling you what I believe it was them. And if I'm giving them credit for something that another podcast said, then my apologies. But one of the major Ohio State podcasts said that Gene Smith did not get the top of the line turf a couple of years ago when they replaced that, and there was a newer, more advanced technology that he passed on. So I can't verify that. If that is true, then they need to just get that turf out and get the best technology in there, whatever that may be. And maybe it's just a Will Howard thing. I mean, Shane Cupp said he had a slip, which was annoying. And yes, he even slipped on other people's turf at Oregon. So yeah, it may just be a bit of a Will Howard thing. I don't know.
It is a Will Howard thing because I didn't see any other players slipping yesterday from either team. It was all Will Howard.
Yeah. I mean, he is, and I was doing a little bit of research on his rushing this year. He's only averaging 2 yards a carry on his rushing. Now, if you back out his sacks,
is that how little it is for him this year?
Well, yeah, but if you back out his sacks, which are 9, and let's just say you give him 5 yards a sack. Now, there very well may be some sacks that were 7, 8, 9 yards, and they're more than that. I don't know, but averaging 5 yards a sack, that still only brings his rushing average up to about 2.8 yards a carry. So he's not a tremendous runner. I think that we can conclude that by now. I've said it all along that I believe his big value in the run game is that we're getting more 2nd and 7s as opposed to 2nd and 15, 16s, because he is able to evade that initial rush, slip out, scamper for a few yards. He rarely gets the acceleration to get the 10, 12, 15-yard gain, as you've stated, but he is slipping out and getting 3 or 4 yards and giving us something manageable, 2nd and 6 or 3rd and 6, as opposed to 2nd and 15 or 3rd and 15. That's the value I see in his, with Will Howard's legs and his willingness to use them.
Yeah, I guess that's an optimistic take there. I said it before the season. I remember saying it when we got him. I'm like, don't think of this guy as like some kind of like elusive quarterback when he's not. I watched his film at Kansas State and I'm like, he can run, but don't think of him as somebody who's just going to be able to win you a game from running. Mm-hmm. But he's actually been less of a runner than that here. So maybe it's the fucking Big 12 defenses. I mean, that's really what comes to mind.
Yeah, certainly could
seriously.
Be. What we got next, Jay? You going on to
defense? Let's move into something. I will say Flippin' Skippy said he was 9 years old in that Fiesta Bowl. Like, wow. Michael, we are fucking old, bro. That guy was 9 years old during the Fiesta Bowl. I think I was
the
21.
Texas Fiesta Bowl. I was 20, I don't know, 7 or 8 or no, I was 20. What was that? 2009?
It was 2009. It was a 2008, 2009 season. So I had turned 21 in 2008.
Yeah, I was 27.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking crazy, man. Time flies. Time flies. Dude, so back to the offense. I will say this. I just shit on the running game some, but I'm really shitting on the running game when Quinshon Judkins is in the game. Because as time has gone on, my initial thoughts with this guy were kind of proven correct. Like, he kind of changed my mind against Marshall and Western Michigan. But this isn't Marshall and fucking Western Michigan anymore, Michael. This is the Big Ten. He has not impressed me. He's showing lack of burst. He drops passes. He fumbles the football. Like he's just been a very running back. And TreVeyon Henderson, second best running back in the country. Second best back in the country. Ashton Genty is number 1, but TreVeyon is number 2. I will say this, to fix the running game, Travion needs to start. He's going to have to start getting 15 to 20 carries a game. And then Quinshon maybe gets 5 to 10 just to spell him. But that would fix the running game because Quinshon Judkins is exactly what I thought. I don't think he's an NFL running back. He's good against these shitty teams. But again, watch Quinshon Judkins against Penn State in the Peach Bowl last year. And that's what I watched. And I was like, what is it about this guy that's overly impressive? I just don't see it. I don't see it. He's had enough turnovers. His hand procedure screwed up everything. I don't know about that. I don't see the burst. Again, the hand procedure has nothing to do with his burst. Like he's just, last week against Penn State, I remember like he had a hole that he only picked, like a huge hole that Travion would have busted probably a 50-yard run. Quinshon only picked up 5 yards. And I was like, holy shit, red flag, sirens going off now. Quinshon is just not doing it for me anymore. But our depth at running back isn't as good as I thought. I think Quinshon is fine in a backup role, but he should not be starting anymore. Travion needs to be starting because our slow starts on offense, I think a lot have to do with Quinshon being in the backfield. Bucking put Trey as the starter and swap their roles and give Quinshon less carries and Travion more carries. That would fix our offense more. Go look at the Oregon game. Like Quinshon is the one who fumbled. Like Travion is the one with all the big runs in that game. Like, yeah, I understand Quinshon scored that 1 2-yard touchdown run, but it's a 2-yard touchdown run. Oh, well. And it was to the left side when Josh Simmons was back. So again, Travion playing second best running back in the country, Michael.
Okay, so Jay, I am not as down on Quinshon as you. He's averaging 6.1 yards a carry. If they play,
what is his yards per carry if you take out Western Michigan and Marshall?
Well, I don't know. I haven't figured that, but Travion is averaging 7.5 yards a carry. So clearly you see a little bit more burst there. So
wow, he's averaging more yards with those games. That just shows you how much better Travion is. That's all that needs to be said.
Yeah.
He has more yards per carry with those games in there because what the fuck? Quinshon had like that 75-yard touchdown run against Marshall. Or was it Western? It was against Marshall.
And Shane Cupp said, I wish they would feed the hot hand more and let Trey keep running if he's doing well. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that there's certainly the potential for Quinshon to come out and be hot one game. And if he is, let him run the ball. And same thing with Trey. It's time to, load management is over. You've managed his load. This, of course you can continue to manage his load a little bit against Northwestern, but, from Indiana, Michigan, Oregon, on to wherever they go, assuming they win the Indiana and Michigan game, doesn't need to be any load management. If Travion ends up with 18, 19, 20 carries because he's running for, 6.5 yards a carry against a good team, keep giving him the ball. Same thing with Quinshon, but I do think that Travion has more potential to break those big runs.
Absolutely. Again, like he's a beast, man. He's a complete running back. And again, his blocking has become elite, Michael. I mean, you've seen his blocking,
really
like how explosive and violent he is blocking. Yep. He's just a fucking monster. He's just a fucking monster, man. Nothing else to be said there. I guess let's move on to the defense a little bit here. So, like Michael, did you see? Yeah, again, we touched on this before earlier in the show, but 3 down linemen to start the game. They were playing like with like Knowles' like jack position. I didn't really like Mitchell Melton was playing a little bit at like outside linebacker rush end type thing. He was standing up, and I got to be honest, man. The players just seemed to have no fucking clue what they were doing. Just none at all. No clue at all what they were doing. And Purdue was gashing them, absolutely gashing them. Now I understand Tyleik Williams didn't play in this game, but Tyleik Williams shouldn't have to play against Purdue or fucking Northwestern next week. Like, yeah, it's just not needed. So Edric Houston inside, don't like it. Just don't like it at all. Where the fuck is Caden McDonald? Caden McDonald has been the best defensive tackle on the team, And, he's not starting. You're starting like a true freshman that's 280 pounds. Like, when Tyleek Williams is back, I would be starting Caden McDonald next to Tyleek. I mean, like, you would have like 640 pounds of fucking mass there. Like, play them. Fucking play them, because Caden McDonald is an elite guy. He's gone to the NFL after next year. I promise you. He is a 3-and-out defensive tackle. He is 3-and-out. So why are we not fucking playing him? Ty Hamilton is not going to be what his brother is in the NFL. He's not as talented. Edric Houston is a true freshman. Why they moved him inside at this point in the season, I have no idea. The defensive tackle depth is fine. They have Tywone Malone. They have Hero Canoe. I mean, are they the greatest players? No, but they're all 300-pounders. Edric Houston is not. Edric Houston is a smaller guy for a defensive tackle. So I didn't really like the 3-down lineman to start the game. Gave Purdue a lot of momentum there. And then, they were trying new stuff, and it backfired. Again, you don't try new stuff at this point in the season. It's over. This should have been done in the off season. This should have been drilled in springtime and in the summertime. You don't fucking throw that out there now and expect. Again, the players had no clue what they were doing. None at all. And you have to have the perfect personnel to run the 3-4. Again, I made mention of that before. That's why I don't like it. The 3-4, that's why you see it a lot in the NFL, because it's the fucking NFL. You are going to, like, most NFL teams have the rosters to do that. In college football, most teams don't have the rosters to run the 3-4.
Well, Alabama's got the roster for it. They certainly had some speed coming off of the edge. But
yes, they do, and so does Georgia, and they're like the only ones.
They've recruited for that. I mean, they have built their roster around that. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know what Knowles is doing with the 3-4. It just seems like you would put, some wrinkles into something that you're already doing. But we'll see how he does with that moving forward. Jim Knowles definitely comes more into play with this team than we even thought, with some of the issues that are on offense. We have to have a defense that can get some stops and can get people off the field. Not going to have a shutdown defense. That's very hard to do in college football today, and this is not one of those. But you have to have a defense that can get guys off the field. Jay, you can't have a defense that lets the Jalen Milrows of the world get rolling and get moving the way that LSU did. And that is kind of that is one concern I have, is what can this defense do against a Jalen Milrow? What can this defense do against Oregon next time? Those are some questions that we don't have yet, because so far they gave up a little too much against Oregon. Their backs were against the wall a few times, as we've talked about. They kind of got handed 9 points to an extent, put the defense in some bad spots. So, I mean, I am optimistic, Jay, that the defense can maybe hold good offenses to 25 points or so if they play a clean game, if we play a clean game and don't turn the ball over. And I like our odds against most teams like that. Now, you start turning the ball over, you start giving away points, that's a different ballgame. That's a different story. This team is not talented enough, I don't think, to do that. The 2014 team, they turned the ball over twice against Alabama. They turned the ball over 4 or 5 times against Oregon in the national championship game, and they were just so hot and things were clicking so well that it didn't matter. I don't see this team being able to do that. They have to play clean.
Problem is, Michael, they never play clean. You have to expect probably 2 turnovers in a big game under Ryan Day, because Ryan Day teams just – the things that are – again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here. The things that are common sense and go without saying have to be said for Ryan Day in big games, because they just don't do those things. And that's why they lose. They just – the things that, most teams execute on that go without saying, like, Ryan Day teams do not in big games. So, yeah. The linebackers, Michael, I thought the linebackers played fine. I guess CJ Hicks played, had another rough game, but I think that was early in the game when they're experimenting with that, 3-4 Knowles bullshit stuff. But, once again, Michael, Denzel Burke, your boy, Denzel.
Yeah. He's my boy and Will's my hero.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Another deep throw given up by Denzel Burke. Why does this clown continue to play like that? Whoever is making the final decision to start him, needs to be fired. He's just not good. And people are like, oh, well, it was good coverage. No, it wasn't. If it was actually really good coverage, he would have either knocked it down or picked it off. He let the guy come down with it. He really wasn't in that great a position to make a play just because he was within a half a yard of the guy. You got to be able to turn your head and make a play on the ball. He never does that. Never, ever. He's just not a good corner. What do you need to see that this guy is not fucking good? Because teams are not afraid of our corners, Michael. They are not afraid of Denzel Burke. They are not afraid of Davis and Igbinosun. They are not afraid of either one of them. If you throw a deep ball against either one of them, you're either getting a completion against Denzel Burke or you're getting pass interference against Igbinosun. It is guaranteed each fucking time. And that is a big weakness because I'm starting to think the best cover guy in the secondary is also our best tackler in Caleb Downs. So I don't really know what you do with him. It's like, do you play him more in run support or do you play him more in man? Again, Jermaine Matthews, they threw once his way and they didn't come close to completing it. That guy needs to just take over for Denzel Burke. Yeah, Igbinosun, I'll still keep him out there because he's long and he's athletic and 6'2" corners just don't grow on trees. Mm-hmm. But Denzel Burke needs to be benched for Jermaine Matthews. Like the way Jermaine Matthews spells Denzel or whoever in the game is how Denzel needs to be spelling Jermaine. Jermaine is everything you want in a corner outside of elite size. But again, he's not small. He's 5'11". He's not super small.
Well, I agree. I like Iggy pretty good. I think he's a good, I think he's a good corner. He's certainly not perfect. He's got a little tendency to get handsy and get some holding calls at times. But Burke is just not getting it done at the level that we need it. And I've been on the Matthews train for a while. I truly think that Matthews is the guy to play outside there. Shane Cupp said, I don't think they will bench Denzel Burke, I'm afraid, or they won't bench Denzel Burke, I'm afraid. Yeah. Yeah, they're probably not going to. But I think it's clear Matthews needs to be out there more. I think it's clear, like you said, McDonald needs to be out there more. So those are a couple of gripes I have on defense. Is I think some of the best players are not on the field as much as they should be.
No, they're not. And it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Whoever is like making these decisions, like who to play and stuff, just honestly probably should be fired. There's another play. There's one player I thought should be starting to get recognition and maybe playing time. And granted, he's a true freshman, but I don't think so anymore. Aaron Scott from Springfield, Ohio. How far away are you from Springfield, Michael?
About an hour and 30 minutes.
Hour and 30 minutes. Okay. I wonder if the cats and dogs problem has been solved there.
I don't know.
That's actually interesting. You know who we need to ask? Ask Aaron fucking Scott. Ask him if the Haitian population is out of control there. He would know. He's lived there.
Yeah, he's from Springfield.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not getting into that. There's definitely some problems there. Is there any cat and dog stuff going on? I don't know. I've looked into it, and I'm not 100%.
They're eating the cats. They're eating them. It's like the greatest thing ever.
I haven't seen that there definitively is anything about eating cats. I have seen some things about eating ducks that seems like it's pretty verifiable, or things out of the local parks. But yeah, there's definitely some issues going on there in Springfield.
Well, back to the original point that I wanted to make there with Aaron Scott. Oh boy, that was a rough day for him yesterday. That was really rough. He got beat a couple times and he just didn't look like he belonged out there almost, which is kind of scary because he was marketed, he's a 5-star. He was like the number 4 corner in the country. But do you remember when he was marketed as like some big, long, like imposing corner like Igbinosun? Do you remember that? Like I'm looking at his 247 profile and he's listed at like 6'2". Do you remember that at all?
Yes, I do.
That guy is no taller than 6 feet tall. And dude, I swear, like he's listed at 6 feet tall now. I'm like, where did the measurements ever come for him to be at 6'2"? Because he looks small out there, like small height, like just, like those Purdue wide receivers just towered over him. He could not make the play on the football. Like, I'm like, shit. If this guy, if he's not overly tall, then what the fuck do we have? Because he's not able to stick with them on the deep routes either. I'm like, that's a little worrisome. A little worry. I don't really know what else to say, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about him right now as a freshman. I think he probably hasn't played enough that he could even use a redshirt year. I don't know. I haven't looked into that, whether he's gotten enough action
was he
or
going
not.
against Purdue's backup? So I don't think. Well, maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But Purdue had some like nice length at wide receiver. They had like
Mm-hmm.
3 guys that all were like 6'3", 6'4". So
yeah.
But again, Igmanosin looked like he could stand with those guys and was just as physically imposing. Like Aaron Scott wasn't that way. And Igmanosin projected as a first-round pick. Things under the sun. Good looking. Nice seeing you in here tonight, man. I thought it was a little too late for you, but it's good to see you here. Yeah, whoever did that first-round mock projection is crazy. Igmanosin is not a first-round pick, but I would think he's a second-round pick, like a late second-round pick, maybe. You have to remember that Joey Porter Jr. was like a second-round pick, and he's no Joey Porter Jr. I can tell you that.
I think he's talking about Todd McShay. I'm not 100% on that, but I think McShay might have had him mocked up in the first round somewhere.
I don't know who's good and who's bad. I don't really care anymore. I can usually look at players on my own, and I can tell you if they're first-round picks or not. I'm usually a pretty good judge of talent.
Mm-hmm.
Igmanosin is not a first-round pick. If I were to guess, he's going to go in the 3rd round.
Mm-hmm.
Because Joey Porter Jr. actually went in the 2nd round, and Joey Porter Jr. is like a lot better than Igmanosin. A lot better. They're basically like the same height and stature, but Joey Porter Jr. was more of a ball hawk, whereas Igmanosin is not. Go ahead.
I think it probably depends on what he does at the combine. If he runs in the combine, a lot of our guys don't run in the combine anymore. But if he went and ran a 4.35, then I could see a team taking him in the first round just because they like to take those combine champions. But yeah, generally speaking, I'd be kind of surprised if he went in the first round.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I mean, yeah, I don't see him going in the first round, but yeah, it's just, our secondary is a problem, man. I guess the whole point of this is we don't have guys that can cover. The only guy I trust out there is Jermaine Matthews, and that's just not enough. You need more than one guy. And Jermaine Matthews doesn't even play enough. You have Denzel Burke that's getting beat all the time. You have Igmanosin, who's like a pass interference waiting to happen every time because, while he's big and physically imposing, like he just doesn't have the technique correctly and to not to cover these guys and not interfere. Lathan Ransom, we know his troubles in coverage. Caleb Downs is really our best cover guy, but what does that say about your secondary, your starting secondary, when your best cover guy is a safety? I think that's kind of red flag. So again, it makes sense that Oregon lit us up in the passing game. Does it not? It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, cover guys are hard to come by. It's a tough thing in college football today. A lot of secondaries struggle not to give up quite a few yards in college football today. So, I'm not as concerned that that's like a deal breaker, but I'm not saying that I don't agree with you that it's true that we do have some. I won't even say deficiencies, but we certainly have some weaknesses and some vulnerabilities here in the secondary.
Oh, yeah, we do. I mean, again, one of them, Jermaine Matthews needs to start. That will help a lot because our secondary becomes a lot better just with him starting. Again, I think that puts a bow tie on the Purdue game. Purdue fucking sucks. Like Ryan Walters needs fired. They're a deplorable team. Not much else to be said. Losing Jeff Brom was just a killer to that team. That is just an absolute fucking killer to that program. And I don't know where they turn, but they need somebody else. They need somebody else that can recruit. Again, I think this guy is actually recruited fairly well for Purdue, but just his scheme and just everything all together, he's just bad for Purdue. Nothing else to be said there.
Yep, I agree. What do you think moving forward? I know you got Northwestern coming up. We're not going to talk about that. But
so
Indiana, what do you think about
I feel like we need to save Indiana for like when Indiana's actually here, but I can tell you.
I just meant how you feeling. I didn't mean go into
I'm feeling a lot better about
Mhm.
that game
Mhm.
because again, like I recorded like the Big Ten in 60 and I watched, some of the game, but man, did they look small? Indiana just looks small.
Mhm.
Like Michigan was so much bigger and actually more talented than them,
Mhm.
but Michigan just they just don't have a quarterback. If Michigan had a halfway decent quarterback, they win that game by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Indiana is definitely a beatable team from what we saw the other day.
Yeah. So Northwestern, man. Number one, that game is being played at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
What a fucking joke. Ohio State's playing in a little freaking baseball park for a football game.
Mhm.
Like I've heard that they actually both teams, it's not big. Like both teams have to go the same direction the entire game on offense. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
I think somebody told me that, and that's kind of scary. So what if you have like an interception and run it back or something? I don't know. I don't remember the last time a game's been played there. Is a bowl game played at Wrigley Field? Chat, does anyone know if there's a bowl game played at Wrigley Field? I'm not 100%.
No, I don't believe there is. There's one played at Yankee Stadium, the Pinstripe Bowl, but that's the only one that I believe is played on a baseball. Yeah, have you seen Northwestern's new stadium? Have you seen the concept design for it?
It looks beautiful.
Yeah,
it's not very. I don't know that it's really all that big, but
no, it's not big at all. It's only going to have about 30,000 seats, I think. But it is a cool design. Having like a modern type stadium in a college football, in a college football, venue. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's why they're having to play other places. Did they tear Ryan Field down? Is Ryan Field gone?
I don't actually know. It's sad because Ryan Field I've never been there, but it just feels like a staple of Big Ten football, and it's gone.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, man, I never want Ohio Stadium to leave. There needs to be some serious, I guess, updates with Ohio Stadium. But they need to have some kind of you're looking at it right now.
Yeah, there it is. That's what they're saying it's going to look like. So it's going to look like a big a dome, like a professional type dome. It's just going to be kind of mini sized, only 30 or 35,000 seats.
Wow. Yeah, that's just not big enough for the Big Ten, though.
No.
Oh, yeah, Ryan Field is getting demolished.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Man. So is this field being built at the same place as the old Ryan Field?
Yeah, they're going to build it right in the same spot, and it's going to be Ryan Field. So none of that's changing. So that's why they have to play. They're going to have to play. I don't know if they're going to play in Wrigley.
That's actually really sad, dude. I don't know what else to say, but this is an indoor stadium?
Well, it looks like it's going to be a dome to me. Maybe it's going to be a retractable roof. I don't know. I'm not sure how much money they're putting into it.
That's cool. I like that a lot. I mean, that helps because let's be real. The weather in Chicago fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Although the lake effect isn't as bad in Chicago as it is in like Cleveland.
No, it's not. And it's, generally it's not bitterly cold in November. But certainly can be starting to get that way. But I like the idea. I like the concept. I think it's cool. I think a lot of other teams will probably start to do this on a bigger level with, 80, 70, 80,000 seat, major stadiums basically. But, we'll see. We'll see if anybody follows their suit. But yeah, I wanted to show you that because I thought that was a cool looking design.
Slip and Skip, you just said the Texans blew it and lost against the Lions. I saw they were playing the Lions tonight, and I did see he mentioned the Steelers earlier. I did watch a little bit of the Steelers game, and just because it was on TV against the Redskins. I think the Redskins actually had a lot of big time players not playing in that game, supposedly. I mean, that's what I heard. But good win for the Steelers. Even though I hate them, the Steelers won't win the Super Bowl. You mark my words. They will not win. What was I going to say? Back to Northwestern, man. Northwestern had a bye week last week, too. And they're better than Purdue.
Yeah. Well, are you worried about them?
Well, considering it's outside, Ohio State really doesn't throw the ball down the field. And our running game is kind of lacking. I wouldn't be surprised if that game is uncomfortable for a lot longer than we would like it to be.
Okay.
Northwestern doesn't really have much on offense, but Cam Porter, Ohio kid from Cincinnati. Do you remember him? I don't actually know what high school he went to, but I know he's from the Cincinnati area.
Okay. No, I don't remember him. There, I just gave you a look at Wrigley there, Jay.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so they aren't all going to go one way. Scroll down.
Yeah, shouldn't be an issue going one way.
Okay, so it is going to be. Okay, I see how it is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that looks kind of good. They're actually probably better than Ryan Field.
Yeah.
I wonder how much tickets cost to that thing.
I don't know. I would kind of love to go, but I mean, I'm not going to. But that would be a cool game to go to.
It would be cool to go to. It would be cool to go to. I tell you what, I'm going to look at tickets right now. Maybe I'll fly out to Chicago.
Yeah.
That's a joke. I'm not flying to Chicago for that. It's $127 is like the cheapest ticket right now.
Okay. That's not terrible.
Save money by spending their football. Yes, Shane Cup, you are absolutely right. Play 2 teams in a row that are coming off a bye week. Yes, we are. Yeah, I'm not too concerned about Northwestern, but don't be surprised if, they're at home. We remember the last time we went to Ryan Field 2 years ago. Like, we were in a dogfight for a long time because the wind was so bad. Remember, Michael? With CJ Stroud?
Yep, I do. I remember
Again, that's why I'm kind of looking at this game. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, Northwestern's not terrible. I mean, they do suck, but they're not like god awful like Purdue.
I mean, let's say you get some really bad wind in there,
right?
And it's not a great game. I'm still going to go worst case scenario: Buckeyes 27, Wildcats 7. If it's a nice sunny day there in Chicago, 55 degrees, I'm going to go Buckeyes 48, Northwestern 7. I think they're going to handle business either way.
I have no prediction for this game at all. I honestly don't really care all that much. I'm going to watch it, and I don't be surprised if there are struggles in there. Yeah, I expect Ohio State to win, but how much? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like I've said before, the game that matters is if Ohio State gets a rematch against Oregon, and then you'll be able to judge Ryan Day to the fullest measure in that game in the Big Ten championship if they make it.
How about that Northwestern? This is a little bit off subject, Jay. This is NFL talk, but how about that Northwestern defensive lineman last year who shows up at the combine at like 6'2", 6'3", 290 pounds and runs like a 4.5 40 and ends up shooting way up people's draft boards. So, yeah, it's Northwestern. Yeah, they stink. But, they certainly can have some players out there mixed in that if you're not ready to play.
Cam Porter is a player, man. Cam Porter is like a player. AJ Henning is a player, but that's both of those guys are their entire offense. Like Cam Porter is damn good. AJ Henning is, I think he's damn good, but that's literally it. That's their entire offense. AJ Henning was a former Michigan wide receiver. I think Ohio State was like interested in him for a while, but we ended up going like a different direction. But AJ Henning, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's actually from the Chicago area. So he kind of went back home after being at Michigan. It's not like Michigan and Chicago are all that far apart anyway, but yeah, that was it there.
Yeah.
Chat, do you have anything in particular you want us to talk about? I think that kind of wraps this show up. Michael, Ohio State basketball plays tomorrow night against Youngstown State. We should blow them out by 30 plus points. And let me see who else do we play this week in basketball? I think that might be the only game, but I just want to double check. Oh, we play at Texas A&M on Friday night, Michael, in basketball.
That'll be a big one.
Yeah, so I don't expect us to win that game, unfortunately. And which is upsetting because Jake Diebler was supposed to really, turn this program around. Recruiting-wise, he hasn't been great so far. I got to be honest. Like, the guys he's gotten haven't been overly impressive to me.
If they do win, Jay, I want you to come back on here next time and be positive about it.
I will.
We got a big one against the SEC.
I will say the basketball team is more interesting than the football team to me.
So, Jay, you changing your prediction at all that this team is going to run the table and beat Oregon, which is my prediction. Are you changing yours at all? Are you still sticking with that after this week at Purdue?
Yeah, I'm still. I don't expect them to beat Oregon right now. No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Shane Cup asked me, "Do you have a prediction for what team will win the national championship this year?" Bama looks scary all of a sudden, but they've been inconsistent. I would pick Bama to win it all if they're able to get a bye. If they don't get a bye, then I need to see the bracket. Again, it all comes down to the bracket and who plays who. Just like in college basketball, it's about matchups. Not that like there's anyone outside of the SEC other than maybe Oregon and Ohio State that can beat these SEC teams. Did you happen to see the BYU Utah
Listen
game?
to you, giving Ohio State a chance.
Well, Ohio State at least has Ohio State has the physical players. Ohio State could walk on a field, and talent's never really been the problem as much for Ohio State as the coaching and just the preparation and everything. We match up with anyone in the country just player for player, but the problem is mentality, execution, coaching, doing the little things. It's all of those things that catch up to Ohio State. So that's the problem there. And and they just play slower because of it. But yeah, man. The basketball team I find a little bit more interesting. And Texas A&M on Friday, and then the football team, Northwestern on Saturday. So yeah, man, big week in Ohio State sports for sure. At least in the two money-making sports. Let's be real. Nobody cares about any of the other sports.
No.
Baseball team would be nice if it got good again.
Yeah,
I would pay attention to the baseball team if it got good again.
Yep. Well, I think that's a wrap, Jay.
Yeah.
We have anything else
Thank
today?
you, everybody, for being here.
Yep. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you. When are we coming back with our Big Ten episode?
Oh, yeah. We probably should do a Big Ten episode this week because we probably do need to talk about the Michigan-Indiana game, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll talk about Big Ten having 4 teams in the top 10, being a little bit top heavy, but certainly representing pretty well on the national stage so far this year.
Yeah, I would say either Wednesday or Thursday night.
All right.
One of those days. We'll figure it out.
Be looking. We'll give you a heads up beforehand. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you soon.